Today I'll be interviewing both the past and current president of a chapter here on campus. So we're going to start off with both of you guys introducing yourself with your name and your year here on Syracuse's campus.
Hi, my name is Taylor Sim, and I'm the current president of a chapter here on campus, and I'm a junior.
Hi, my name's Hannah Friedland. I'm a senior at Syracuse, and I am the past president of a chapter on campus.
Thank you, Hannah and Taylor. So today we're going to be discussing your opinions and thoughts of Greek life and hazing and the stigma that it has. So we're going to start with your opinions on if you find there to be enough awareness of hazing on Syracuse's campus.
I think that there is enough awareness of hazing on campus. For example, we have Hazing Prevention Week, which just happened a month ago, and there was a whole week dedicated to making people aware of what's going on with hazing and like how prevalent it is in the Greek community. And but there was also a speaker that came and talked about it, which was like the most helpful part of the whole thing. Also, like now with social media being so present in our lives, we have cover photos that we make. Everyone in Greek life make their cover photo, and it basically says National Hazing Prevention Week, and it's that all the councils are standing together and fighting against hazing and also the stigma that comes with the hazing and Greek life that is combined.
Thank you, Taylor. What are your thoughts, Hannah?
I think right now there is enough awareness on the Syracuse campus, especially. When I heard this question, I immediately thought about one of the past people that worked in the Fraternity and Sorority Affairs office here on campus. He always would send us articles about other universities with hazing, and I think that maybe that's not about the Syracuse campus, but it shows that there's awareness happening everywhere and that there's problems happening everywhere. So just even the simple thing of sending and forwarding an article about something maybe at the University of Alabama or the University of Indiana, really even that can just bring a little bit of awareness to parents and to students about what's happening in other campuses. And it also kind of highlights the positive that we are doing on this campus and the fact that there's such a community rallying together, like what Taylor was saying about the cover photos, something so simple like that. But with the amount of houses on this campus, there's clearly then 700 people that have one cover photo, which brings awareness to people that aren't in Greek life, that are friends with them on Facebook, or just all these little things bring awareness.
Thank you. So, as you guys said before, that you guys were both either the past or current president, so that just shows your relation to Greek life. Did you guys always want to have some part of Greek life in your college experience?
Yeah, when I first decided to come to Syracuse and found that it was such a big part of the community here at Syracuse, I immediately wanted to join that just to like make the campus smaller and also just have the bonds and the philanthropies and all of the things that come, like the good things that come along with Greek life. But I don't know if necessarily at another campus that I would have done Greek life because it might not be as big of a thing there that I would want to be involved in.
And Hannah?
I always knew I wanted to be in Greek life at Syracuse, but I never knew that I would necessarily want to be a position. Through like the new member process, I kind of was not really like into the whole exec board idea, but once I started like meeting the people in our chapter and really warming up to it, I knew that being a position in our sorority was like the right place for me, and I think that gave me a different connection to the sorority than a lot of other people have, and I can feel that Taylor would agree with that because you're really involved in everything that's happening, and it's a nice thing to know everybody in every single grade and all that stuff. But I have friends at other campuses and other schools who Greek life isn't as big, and they've either deactivated or they just never joined or it's too expensive and all those things. So I think that there really is a positive sense of Greek life that we have here at Syracuse that everybody really does want to be a part of.
Okay. So, for both of your presidencies, have you ever had hazing imposed on your term?
There's always people that are with a group of 200. There's always going to be people that are going to suggest ideas and things that you might not be comfortable with. But having a position in a sorority and there being authority figures is very important, because there needs to be people that are going to say no and people that are going to follow through with these hazing prevention things, because if not, then these stigmas will be relevant and they'll be presented and things like that. But yeah, I think that as long as, yes, things have been imposed, but obviously you have to say no, and you can't let people step on your toes and do things without you approving them.
Thanks, Taylor. What about you, Hannah? During your presidency, did you see any hazing acts or any situations?
I think it's actually what do you define hazing as? Hazing could be telling a girl she needs to wear a black sweater, or not saying hi to someone on the quad, or it could be doing things that you hear about in the news, such as the huge thing that just happened in Indiana, or things that were happening in Michigan or Alabama, other schools. But to me personally, I agree with Taylor. There's always going to be some certain person that is going to have an idea or something that they feel personally upset about, that they want to bring to the chapter and make people feel uncomfortable. But it's being president of the chapter is about having a backbone, and you're elected because you're not going to let hazing impose on the chapter and take over and become what your chapter is known for or anything like that. But again, people are going to have their own personal ideas, and it's just about coming down on them and saying no.
Okay, so what were your guys' thoughts towards hazing prior to being president?
Prior to being president, I didn't really know that much about hazing. I didn't know everything that went along with it. I didn't know that these small things were considered hazing, especially before I came to college. I didn't even know, I didn't know hazing was even a thing. I thought it was just this fake idea. I didn't,
From the Greek TV show.
yeah, I didn't know that it was really a thing. But then coming to college and becoming president and learning about all these things that are happening at other schools, or maybe one case from a chapter on campus, you learn about all these things that are going on, and it's enlightening to find out all these things regarding to hazing, because there are things that you can do to stop it, and there are also things you can do to stop the relation to Greek life and hazing, because in my opinion it's not what Greek life is about. And a lot of people say that, and even a lot of people on this campus assume that just because we're in Greek life we're all about drinking and hazing and all these awful things, but they don't highlight the good stuff that we do, philanthropies and raising awareness for our organization. There's just so much that we do that's good, and it just doesn't go recognized, and people just focus on the hazing, and it's really not it's not a good thing.
Do you find yourself sometimes having to defend being in a sorority because there's such a stigma towards hazing?
Absolutely. It's mainly people who are not in a Greek organization that are the ones that come at you accusing you of doing these bad things, and yes, I do.
And Hannah, what about you? What were your thoughts towards hazing prior to being president?
I think that they just were from a TV show or from reading articles, and I keep relating this back to the whole thing that happened to Indiana. But when I read that article as being a past president, my perspective on it would have been different than someone else, my brother who is just getting into Greek life, or my mom who's never in Greek life, because I have a different perspective, because I sit through meetings with other presidents. I sat through meetings with other presidents. I have relationships with people in other houses, from people with other schools. So I think that I see all the positives in other fraternities and other sororities. So I guess hazing to me was just this thing that every single house did, and these traditions that everyone did. But now I see it as something completely different, because it doesn't impact anything, and it's really not what Greek life is about.
So, Hannah, you already touched upon this, and if you have anything more to add, you can. So, for Taylor, who's still currently president, and Hannah, you are already your past president, have your thoughts towards hazing in Greek life changed, and do you think that there are the word hazing is applied too much for certain things that go on during Greek life?
Yeah, I think that hazing is automatically assumed to be with Greek life, and people don't really think about if they were hazing on sports teams or hazing on in different organizations. But I just think that there really is a stigma, and there's a connection that people make that isn't necessarily true, and it just is highlighting all these bad things about Greek life that aren't the only things that we do.
My thoughts 1000% changed once I was elected president, because it was my ass that was on the line. And as president, you have to sign all these forms and all these letters stating that there's going to be no hazing in your chapter, and it's you. If there's a problem, it's you that gets sent to jail. It's you that can get in trouble. So it became not just this thing that I heard about through the grapevine or that I watched on TV shows. It became real life. And if someone in my chapter didn't realize that her actions would have affected our entire house, like, it was me that would have taken the fall, and it was me that would have taken the blame. So my thoughts on it became a lot more serious, and that's why I was saying when I read these articles I have a different perspective, because the poor presidents of those houses right now are probably sitting on the phones with their nationals and getting ripped apart because they didn't say no and they didn't stop it. And that's what it comes down to. You know, it's a house of 200 people, but it's one person that takes the fall, and it's one person that needs to take the blame, and it's so unfortunate that that happens. And I think, you know, that's maybe an issue with Greek life, but for a big chapter like ours, there's 200 people, and that's normal on Syracuse's campus with the new pledge class of like 70 people in sorority. So multiply that by four pledge classes, and you're taking the blame for 200 people in your house, and that's scary.
Yes.
It's a scary thought.
Thank you so much. So we're going to end with any last thoughts about the correlation between hazing and Greek life. If any of you guys have any last comments.
I mean, I guess my last thoughts are that I hope that, as Taylor was hitting on, that positives that we do in our chapter and in every single chapter on this campus, because everybody does it, are highlighted so much more than the negatives of the possibilities of hazing and the thoughts surrounding it. Like, every single house has a philanthropy that they donate to, and just last week we had a whole day AE festival with Wilson Park, a local after school program, community center, and we brought joy to like 25 young kids' lives. And you know, that is what should be written in the papers about, not about the hazing that's going on and the negativity, because that's, you know, that this is why we're here, this is why we're all together, not for the drinking and the hazing, which isn't the focus.
Okay, well, thank you both so much for talking with me today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about your opinions and thoughts of hazing in Greek life, and whether you think that they exceed reality or if you completely agree with it. So if you could start off by introducing yourself by giving me your name, your age, and where you go to school.
Sure. So, good afternoon here. My name is Taylor Gaines. I'm a senior at Tulane, and I am not a part of fraternity in any sort of Greek life.
Okay, so can you just tell me a little bit about your knowledge of hazing on Tulane's campus?
Sure. So, the earliest story I know was a few years before I actually started at Tulane. One fraternity poured boiling hot water on Pledge's private area, and which led them to become fertile. So they were kicked off campus for that. Another sorority recently was kicked off for 2 years because and probation because this sorority went on a retreat, and on the retreat everybody took a pot brownie, and one of them unfortunately did not feel well or got laced or whatever it was the case. No one really knows, and apparently she told student affairs or whoever she told, and AFI was now off campus. And then there's a lot of other ones where people are just, you know, for probation for hazing reasons, where, you know, they make pledges do things in the open. Like, for example, during Mardi Gras, one fraternity shaves the pledge's hairs and like interesting things. So one has a checkerboard, one has an inverted mohawk, one has the friar head, things like that.
Right.
All common, and you can tell because sometimes they do physical things to them too, which is unfortunate.
Okay, wow. So did those views and experiences influence your opinion to not want to join Greek life?
Looking at it when I was first trying to determine if I wanted to join a fraternity, I don't think that was really part of it. I feel like it was inevitable that if there be some sort of hazing to begin with, so that
Right.
wasn't my issue with that. So I don't think that was a reason why I just ultimately decided not to join a fraternity.
Okay. And what is it like to observe hazing from either your friends that have joined Greek life at Tulane? What is it like to observe them going through hazing from
It
an outsider's point of
Sure,
view?
it's unfortunate because everybody should be treated the same, even if
Right.
you're just because of you're showing your dues in a sense. So whether it's seeing people, your friends haze other people, or them being hazed, it's not a fun situation. No one likes to, really, even deep down, even though the brothers tend to be harsh in the pledges, they still care for them.
Right.
So it's like even tough for them, but at the same time, they're trying to show them who's boss in a sense, which I'm not a big fan of, and I ultimately don't advise it. And I'm not for it. However, I
Okay.
believe it's something part of the Greek life that will never be changed.
Right, like there's a different range of hazing.
Right. There's either just do my laundry or something like that, or there's like physical like beatings, or there's
Right.
like fight night, or there's like stuff like the pop brownies and like their lineups. It's things like that that are stuff that it's just you'll never change, but it may be limited, but it'll still in ways that you'll never know just because they're hidden secrets of
Right.
fraternities.
Have you found for your friends who have gone through hazing to be changed from when they first joined the frat or sorority to after?
Sure. So, I mean, you can notice in a sense mentally they're much more prone to be stronger,
Okay.
as in they've been through a lot and they understand that I went through one of the toughest semesters of my life. Now I can do anything. I've also witnessed people who become more timid and shy and quiet because they've just experienced things that they don't like, and they're, I guess, afraid of their past in a way.
Yeah.
But that ultimately, it definitely there's some parts where it's changed, but at the same time, there's parts where they haven't.
Do you think any of your friends, whether you know firsthand if they told you or from your thoughts, do you think they maybe ever regretted joining Greek life because of the hazing?
Some I have some friends that I know that probably dropped because either it was the work, but I honestly think it was because they didn't like enjoy the hazing.
Okay.
And but for them, they feel it's like an experience. Like you become brothers. Like basically the people that are doing it to you are ultimately are going to be the people that are going to be on your side for anything, whether it's if you need advice for something or if you're feeling down. So some of them, as much as they hate it, they enjoy it because it's an experience of a lifetime. You're never going to have that again, and then by doing that, they create a bond that no one can explain unless you're
Right.
in a fraternity sorority.
Okay. Do you ever feel excluded from that?
No, I mean at Tulane, I mean I don't really feel excluded because you don't need to be in a frat or sorority there. I mean other schools like let's say the Michigans and the Syracuses and the Wisconsins or whatever.
Right.
You definitely should. I mean I'd recommend it to have a better time, but Tulane, it's just something about it that's not. You don't need to at all because everybody's friends. It's not the biggest school, and it just there's so many things you can do because it's New Orleans aspect. So I don't feel excluded. I enjoy not being in it because I don't feel
Right.
obligated to do things that I don't want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think if you went to those other schools, like you did say, you probably would have joined Greek life? So that just shows that hazing doesn't necessarily steer you in a different
No,
direction.
I honestly don't think it's. I think there's hazing is a problem. I will say that.
Okay.
I don't think that it steered me away from joining a fraternity or fraternity because yeah, I just feel like there's more reasons to it than hazing, and I feel like hazing is something that you're always gonna be a part of. Whether even if it's just me and my best friends joking around, that's technically hazing as well. Pulling pranks and jokes. That's something that people don't realize is hazing in a way.
Yeah,
So
very true.
there's other ways where you can look at hazing and you realize that you've been a part about it. You've been hazed or have hazed other people in ways that you wouldn't necessarily realize.
Right. But it's almost once you're in Greek life and something goes wrong, they just think hazing and they think the worst. Would you agree with that?
I do. I think schools think the worst in fraternities and sororities. I feel like for the schools, obviously they want to keep everyone safe and everybody happy, and it's their job to make sure that nobody gets hazed because, just for their obligations to the parents and to just the people that are actually in the fraternities.
Right.
But there are ways where they do understand that they do help out, they do create a bond, they do actually give back to the community in some sense, and that's simply, it's hard to, because some schools want to kick off all their fraternities and sororities, but I don't see that happening because, it's, unless they do something wrong, you can't kick them off.
Right. Do you find on Tulane's campus there to be a lot of awareness about hazing or like prevention towards hazing?
There has been, unfortunately, I don't know how directly involved this was, but when, unfortunately, last year, first semester, there was a bunch of deaths.
Oh,
So
wow.
a couple suicides. So we don't know exactly why,
Right.
but there has been prevention in terms of keeping people happy at Tulane. Now they've
Okay.
created a CAP services, basically providing, not physical therapists. I don't know why I said that. Psychologists,
Okay.
and things like that. So there's definitely awareness to keep people happy and avoid things that they don't want to, and they encourage people to talk. There's a
Right.
whole movement now. My friend actually started Active Minds at Tulane,
Oh, very cool.
where basically, they're trying to get people to talk about their experiences and not hide it and avoid going down a road you can't come back from.
That's awesome. Should be on every campus.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So now that you're in your senior year, you said, right?
Yes.
How would you define hazing from your perspective today to maybe when you were coming into Tulane as a freshman?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How would you define hazing now that you're in your senior year, and like how would that definition compare to how you would maybe compare or define it your freshman year?
Yeah, so I guess now, when I was a freshman, or going to be a freshman,
Right.
it's always like, oh, like the hazing and the frats, they want to beat you up and they want to do this to you to make you tough. Now, I would say it's more, there's still hazing, but I don't think it's like a reason when people think of frats, maybe like the outside perspective they do, but when you're on a campus, you may not think that because you're accustomed to it in a sense, even just by experiencing it through other people. So I don't think that now it's as big of, I wouldn't say it's a big of a deal, but it's something to look at that's interesting.
So do you think hazing has almost decreased through the years, or
There has been decreased because of just people trying to stray away from getting on probation or getting kicked off campus. However, but they do still do it. They just don't. Obviously, fraternity, sorority secrets, they don't tell people unless people leak things.
Of course.
But I think that we'll never know exactly what every frat or sorority does to people because like I said, the secrets and the traditions.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Do you have any last thoughts about your opinions towards hazing in Greek life?
Just keep an open mind and don't think one stigma. Just because you hear it doesn't mean it actually happens. You never know unless you're there. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for interviewing me. I had a great
Of course. Thank you, Taylor. Have a great day.
time. You too.
Hi, my name is Hallie Goodman, and today I'm going to be interviewing you about your opinions and views on hazing within Greek life. So we're going to start off by you just introducing yourself with your name, age, where you went to college, and if you had any affiliation to Greek life.
Okay, my name is Amy Tenser, and I am 52 years old. I actually went to Syracuse University, and I was not involved with Greek life because I transferred there, so I didn't get an opportunity to be involved with it, but I do remember seeing what it was like, because a lot of the people that I was friends with were going through pledging and stuff. And I also have a son who went to Syracuse and was in a fraternity, and he pledged and went through the whole entire thing and had a great experience. From the point of view that I had when I was a student there 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, it was something that kind of horrified me because of the different. It was probably what would be considered abuse by today's standards, but like the different things that I saw, particularly with the guys, not so much with the girls, but definitely with the guys. I mean, I had this kid on my floor. I lived in Watson,
Okay.
and there was this kid on my floor. His name was Pete. It was just the most horrible thing watching what he was going through. We didn't see him for days at a time, and I just remember one time I guess like he had taken off his shirt and he just had like an undershirt on, and he was like all beat up and bruised and bleeding.
Oh my
His
gosh.
eyes completely, yeah, it was awful, bloodshot, and he couldn't even function. He couldn't go to class, and it was just something that everybody kind of just chalked up to, well, it's hazing, it's
Right.
like whatever. I mean, the lack of sleep, just everything. It was just, he couldn't even talk to us. He wasn't allowed to speak to anybody, and he was so fearful of doing something wrong. And that was kind of like the climate of the way it was back then. Like I think with the different laws or rules that they have in place now, I think it protects the kids from basically almost getting killed. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, but and I was really apprehensive with my son. Of course, he wanted to pledge, and I was like, oh my gosh, but his was a totally different experience. It was actually funny from a mom's point of view.
Right.
They would have them do like goofy things, like in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. I think he had to go like barbecue
Oh,
in the backyard of the fraternity house or something for the guys.
really fast. Before he went to Syracuse, were you a little apprehensive about allowing him to join a fraternity?
100%. I was really, when he first told me, and he was the kind of kid that I kind of knew that he was going to probably want to. That was one of his reasons for wanting to go to Syracuse, was because of their Greek life. And he kept saying, Mom, it's not like this anymore. It's not like this. And I was very apprehensive, but, I had to keep an open mind, and everything that I know from my friends' kids going to different schools and seeing that it's not the way it used to be,
Right.
I had to have an open mind, as
Right.
hard as it was,
Yeah. Do you remember when you were a student at Syracuse, was there any type of awareness or type of prevention that the school enforced about hazing?
No.
It was
Not that I mean, maybe there was, and maybe because I wasn't involved
right.
with Greek life, you know what I mean? Like, I was a new house student that was just, like working really, really hard, and just because I transferred here, just kind of trying to fit in and make friends. Like, it wasn't even something that I necessarily paid much attention to, other than seeing what I saw with this kid. Well, with a few kids actually, but him in particular, like he stands out in particular. It was. Yeah, I don't remember ever getting any kind of information or any pamphlets or
Right.
we obviously we didn't even have computers back then, so I mean we're
Right.
talking about a long time ago.
Do you think that
I'm an
Pete
old person.
Do you think that Pete and people like him who went through the hazing would kind of steer you in the direction to not want to do it? Or was it just a personal preference?
It was a personal preference. I mean,
Okay.
he was all about it. It was just, I was horrified seeing it.
Right.
But it didn't really bother him. He just knew that was something that he was going to do, and everybody kind of knew that that's what you go through.
Right.
And maybe his fraternity, I don't remember what fraternity it was, but maybe his was like a little bit more, maybe tougher in their hazing.
Right.
I'm not sure. But it just, like, that's the way it was.
Does your opinion today, after seeing it firsthand and then going through it with your son, does your opinion about hazing, did it change a little bit?
100%. 100%.
So
100%.
how would you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, how would you define hazing today after seeing both situations?
I think I would define it as an initiation into a brotherhood or a sisterhood. If it's for girls, I don't know what they really do with girls. I don't have a girl, but an initiation into like a brotherhood and seeing what tasks, and they can be humiliating or exhausting, but
Right.
certainly not
Abusive.
violent.
Yeah.
And seeing how much somebody can be pushed or to show their loyalty with this group. I guess it would be something more along that line
Yeah.
of thinking.
That definitely makes sense. Did your son ever mention any type of awareness or prevention on campus? Kind of like how hazing, kind of to show that how hazing is recognized and people, like student affairs and higher people are trying to prevent it?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, right. Like maybe I'm not. Did I not define the right thing when I said hazing?
Oh, no.
Or
No, you did, but I have found that on some campuses, they kind of have like hazing prevention and how it is a known thing and how frats and sororities will often be removed from campus due to hazing. So I just
100%.
you do okay.
Right. No. I'm sorry, but I thought that the I guess what I'm thinking when you're saying hazing, if the derogatory or the negativity of what hazing used to be, I don't even think is on this campus anymore.
Okay. Yes.
So maybe that's where I'm misunderstanding. Like I think that what he did was more of an initiation. It really wasn't what I would consider the definition of hazing from years ago, which was more of a cruelty type of a thing. Whereas now it's more of an initiation period. I guess
Right.
maybe that.
No, that makes
clarify
total
that.
sense. That makes total sense. It's almost
And
like
he definitely. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And he definitely was very, very aware of what they were allowed to do to him. You know, while he was pledging to get into the fraternity, like he knew that he wasn't going to get killed, or
Right.
he wasn't going to be, like have to drink until he passed out, or whatever it is that what was around all those years ago. Like he knew
Right.
that he kept of campus based because they've done something that they weren't supposed to do. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? What you just said, the whole
I said I think that he made it very, very clear, and from the things that he expressed to me and what I understood as a parent, there were a lot of regulations in place so that the traditional hazing wasn't going to happen, that it was going to be more of a safety type of an initiation. Albeit he was exhausted and he
of course.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, he humiliated and all of that kind of stuff, which he didn't really tell me much of. The stuff that he did tell me, I thought was hysterical. So as a mom, that was like so nervous about it, for me to be laughing, that was a good thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely wasn't an experience like you saw with Pete.
No. Oh, that was awful. That was
Wow.
awful. But he was all about it. I mean, it was a different. Things were just so much different back then. Like it was just basically like whatever. That's what it is.
Right.
Nobody really questioned the way things are questioned today.
Yes. So we're going to end with when you look at the stigma between hazing and Greek life, do you find it to often exceed its reality? And almost whenever you hear the word Greek life, other people are so quick to jump to, oh, it's awful, all they do is haze?
I think I can't speak for other schools and I can't speak for every kid because I think, you know, I'm sure that there are some places that it is probably still going on just because you never know what somebody who's being put in a position of power is going to do. I mean, people abuse that all the time, whether
Right.
they're a college student or or an adult in a position of power over somebody else. So I can't speak for every single group, but I think as a whole, and I think in general, things have changed in Greek life, and I think that stigma is definitely dissipating. I definitely think that I would be the first one to defend the initiation of getting into a fraternity, and the quote hazing is not what it was years ago.
Okay, perfect. Well, do you have any last comments?
No, this has been very nice.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Oh, thank you so much. You too.
Bye.